you asked me anything?
How's it going? How does it feel?
Incredible.
It's Dr. Ko here from Reset Ketamine, and you might be wondering, why don't health insurance companies cover IV ketamine treatments for depression?
It can feel like this very out-of-body experience where it almost feels like it's way more in the background, and they have a lot of memories that can come up, similar to MDMA, but not to the same degree. It can feel very empathogenic. People can feel this deep sense of connection with others.
Dylan Bynum is the founder and CEO of Mind Bloom. His company is making ketamine therapy more affordable and available for about half of all Americans, including those who live in Texas.
We are helping to radically increase access to ketamine therapy by making it more approachable through a friendly consumer brand, affordable. We've lowered the price by 80% from the average ketamine therapy provider, and available through telemedicine.
Some of the main arguments against getting IV ketamine covered by insurance companies is, number one, it's not FDA approved for the use in mood disorders.
What are the thoughts that are in your mind?
That we're all connected, that we're all together, that it's just so clear, we are all in this together.
1 out of 4 adolescents actually experience a major depressive disorder. Unfortunately, SSRIs, which are the standard treatment, can take 4 to 8 weeks to kick in. And studies have shown that up to 40% of teenagers are non-responsive to traditional treatments like SSRIs. This is where ketamine comes in. Ketamine is rapidly effective and can work in teenagers.
What is this? We're all in this together. What is this?
Well, I mean, our lives, our purpose, our soul. We're all, it's crazy how we're all together.
Yeah.
My first experience with psychedelics that was important, that actually shifted my view of human possibility, was with MDMA. What was revelatory about it was that it was an experience of absolute sobriety. It was not, there's no druggy component to it. We just became clearer and clearer and clearer in our thinking and feeling. And the crucial component of this was a loss of any feeling of self-concern.
I was considering doing ECT. I was desperate, even though it did not sound incredibly hopeful. It was the only thing that I had left. And fortunately, at that point, I was connected with Sage Clinic and the ketamine treatment. You know, it's very hard to explain for somebody, who's never had a psychedelic experience. It's an entire shift of thinking and of being. The more it starts to kick in, you not only see, objects become more fluid, and there's a light that's behind everything. It's like you can almost see the energy that is making up our reality. The further it goes, it's like it's stripping away layers of illusion.
I can tell that I'm very everyone should feel what it is like to feel this connected to everyone.
I want to highlight a couple of studies. There was one study that looked at teenagers who were treatment resistant, and after the ketamine infusions, they found a rapid reduction in depressive symptoms. Another study looked at adolescent rats. This is a little bit different, and they found that the rats who had received intravenous ketamine, who were then later exposed to a stressful situation, they found that the rats had decreased depression-like behavior on later subsequent tests. Lastly, in a 2018 study, 13 adolescents who were not responsive to traditional antidepressants were given intravenous ketamine. Out of those 13, 5 of those teenagers had a complete remission of their depression. And out of those 5, 3 teenagers were completely depression-free for up to 6 weeks at follow-up. Also, when we use ketamine on teenagers, the brain seems to be more plastic at that age. And if we can target them earlier rather than later, this could significantly change the trajectory of their overall life.
I need help.
This is incredible. Yeah. This is amazing. I wish people could hear what I'm hearing right now. You know?
Totally. What does it sound like?
I just, I feel really like grounded.
If you thought it was hard to talk people out of taking a pill to solve all their problems back in the 1990s, it's the 21st century. And just you watch, because the 21st century is not over yet. We are now tangling with drugs that are much more convincing to people than the crude SSRI antidepressants of the 1990s. Oh, if you were taking Prozac back in the 1990s, you could barely perceive the supposed benefits. You had to talk yourself into it. You had to convince yourself by engaging in a semi-philosophical, pseudoscientific discourse that situated you in this theory that you were born special. You're born different from other people. You have a so-called biochemical imbalance in the brain. Is there a blood test for that? No. Is there some kind of X-ray, some kind of MRI scan for you? No. If you die and then you have an autopsy of the brain, can we then take the brain apart? No. There's absolutely no scientific proof that it's ever existed whatsoever. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. You're special. Yes, you. Unlike your brother, unlike your sister, unlike your mother. You're not just experiencing sorrow, regret, anguish, disappointment with your life. No. You were born different from other people. You have a biochemical imbalance in your brain. And you're so lucky that back in the 1990s, we discovered this wonder drug that's perfectly suited to cure what's wrong with you. Oh yeah, that was the hard part. The hard part was not that people enjoyed being on the drugs. It's that they enjoyed making excuses for them. This whole framework of excuses, pseudoscientific, semi-philosophical, and that subtle ego trip that they believed they were special and that they had found the cure for what had been wrong with them from the day they were born and would continue to be wrong with them until the day that they die. But now that they found the cure, now that they're taking this pill, they can turn their life around. They can do new and different things. See what a powerful placebo effect that could be? That's what we were fighting against in the 1990s. But fundamentally, when people went into the doctor's office to get those drugs in the 1990s, the one thing they were not getting is high. Nobody walked into their doctor's office sad and walked out happy. And what you've just seen in this film is people being over the moon, overjoyed, ecstatic after having their drug trip on ketamine. And ketamine is not the only drug to watch out for. Testosterone use for both genders, male and female, as never before. Changes how you feel when you wake up in the morning getting on testosterone. More subtle forms of performance-enhancing drugs like so-called SARMs, S-A-R-M-S. All right, ketamine is not going to be alone in this. But when you take that mind-altering psychedelic experience that people used to experience at music festivals, at discos, at raves, at house parties, when you take it and you situate it inside a laboratory, inside a hospital, inside a clinic, when you have someone wearing a white lab coat reassuring you that this is the cure for something deep down inside you that's wrong. Now that's a powerful drug trip. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of money from telling desperate, anguished souls exactly what it is that they want to hear. People find it reassuring to imagine that depression or major depressive disorder or treatment-resistant depression is something scientifically real, falsifiable, verifiable, and that's medically wrong with them in their mind, in their body, and their soul. And then once they believe that, they can take the next step into believing that there is a pill or there is an injection or there is a psychedelic drug trip that can fix what's wrong with them. And what we have to fix instead is that first and most fundamental delusion that we can offer any falsifiable, scientifically real criteria that would differentiate so-called depression from what we otherwise just call sorrow, anguish, sadness, misery. The vast majority of people are miserable, are sad, or are depressed for shallow reasons that are nearly self-evident to all of their friends and loved ones who surround them, whether or not those friends and loved ones are willing to be honest with them. I have known several heterosexual women who got married to gay men. They didn't know that those men were gay when they married them. The men in question may not have known themselves. They may have been in denial about it or what have you. That's a pretty reliable formula for an unhappy marriage. Okay, you got an unhappy marriage. What now? Do you want to go down to the clinic and get high on ketamine? Do you think you've solved your problems? Do you think you've improved your life through this transcendental hallucinogenic experience? When you go home again, you've still got an unhappy marriage. But now you've got an unhappy marriage, the beginnings of a drug habit, quite possibly a drug addiction. And you've had your first dose of cumulative, irreversible brain damage. And that brain damage is going to progress each and every time you go back to the clinic to try to feel better about yourself. And the reality is you aren't solving the problems in your real life that made you want to go to the clinic in the first place. Whether that is because you have an unhappy marriage, because you hate your job, because you hate your parents, because you hate your life. A lot of people are going to get rich by telling you to get high. And I'm not going to make $1 by telling you right now, get a life. Maybe we can practice